Week 1 of the NFL season is right around the corner. 3 days from the time I'm recording, 2 days from the time you guys will see this, which means we get to predict how each team does in the opening week of this season. So we're going to take you through game by game, team by team, tell you who's going to win each matchup, and I'm going 16-0 in this pick'em, just like I do in these simulations. You know how it is, which means realistically I'm going about 7-9 this week. However, I love my takes, and I'm going to stick by them. So let's get started. Thursday Night Football, you got the Detroit Lions coming to town to take on the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs, where their ring ceremony will be held before the game. And the Lions, a lot of people would love them to upset the Kansas City Chiefs. Myself, personally, I think Detroit has an excellent offense, and they showed it last year. It was on full display the entire year. Start to finish, they looked a lot better at the end of the year than the beginning, which is why a lot of people ride high on them and Jacksonville. But their defense still has some eyebrows being raised around the league, which is why I simply cannot vouch for the Detroit Lions to win this game. I think they keep it close. I think they keep it very, very interesting. But Kansas City coming off of the Super Bowl, their second in the last 4 years, third appearance in the last 4 seasons as well. They're dominant. And to be quite honest with you, it's going to be hard for a team like Detroit to come in there in week number 1 and take out the defending Super Bowl champs. I know we saw the Rams lose to the Bills last year, but I think Los Angeles was a very weak Super Bowl team. Obviously, they missed the playoffs by a handful of games last year, so I like the Chiefs in this one comfortably by a couple possessions. I don't think they're going to open the door until late, though, so Detroit is going to keep it pretty close there. Moving on now, we got the Panthers and the Falcons, a battle of 2 NFC South teams, and I think this is tank division at 1,000% this year, either this or the AFC South, depending on what Jacksonville looks like this year, but I think realistically the winner of this division goes 9-8, and we get the first little matchup between Bryce Young and Desmond Ridder. It's a good litmus test for the rookie Bryce Young out of Alabama. Should be a pretty decent game for him. The Panthers are actually underdogs in this game. A little bit surprising. Atlanta is the home team, and I suppose they are better by virtue of record last season. However, I am putting my foot in the ground, and I'm picking my first upset here. I'm going to take the Panthers by a point over the Atlanta Falcons. I think Atlanta's probably going to go up 2 touchdowns going into the fourth quarter, and in typical Falcon fashion, they are going to choke it away. I think the Panthers go for 2 and get the victory in their first win of the season here in week number 1, so I'll take the Panthers by 1 over the Falcons. Next up, you got C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans taking on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium. Listen, folks, I think the Ravens get blessed with the easiest week 1 game every single year. 2019, it was Miami, an absolute beatdown. 2020, it was the Browns, which actually the Cleveland was good that year, but it was still an absolute beatdown in week number 1. And you just look at it year after year. Last year was the Jets. Can't remember who 21 was for sure, but I'm sure it was around the same caliber of opponent as it usually is for Baltimore. But here we are again in week number 1. They play the Houston Texans at home. It's a nice little warm-up game for Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. I think Houston is the biggest underdog of the week, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to take the Ravens by 30+ in this game pretty comfortably. I think C.J. Stroud's going to have a big welcome to the NFL rookie moment in this game. He might have one of the worst games of the week for any of the rookies, but it's understandably so against one of the best defenses in the NFL and, of course, an AFC North team. Moving on now to one of my favorite games of the week, and why wouldn't it be? You see all the stuff behind me. It's the Bengals at the Browns, the Battle of Ohio, and a place that Cincinnati has not won since Cleveland went 0-16 back in 2017. That's right, Joe Burrow and even Andy Dalton, up until that point, has not won a game in Cleveland since 2017. So Burrow looking for his first win at Cleveland Browns Stadium. And I'm going to be honest with you, the bias behind me, you guys already know what it is. As unconfident as I am in this game, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to disappoint myself again this season. I like this game to go to overtime because of a couple reasons. Joe Burrow may not be 100% in this game after tweaking his hamstring early on in training camp, although they say he'll make a full recovery and be good to go by week 1. I believe it, but when Myles Garrett and Za'Darius Smith are running full speed at you, not exactly going to be easy to maintain the health of that hamstring. So I think the Browns' pass rush is going to play a big part in this one. I think this game goes to overtime, and I'm going to go with the Browns to win by a touchdown in overtime, because why not? Let's have some fun with it. I can't wait to see how badly I'm disappointed in week 1, but I'm going to take this as my second upset pick of the week. Game number 5, now we head to tank division in the AFC, which is the AFC South. Jacksonville at Indianapolis, and I think the Colts are going to be one of the more disappointing teams, not just this season, but in this week especially. I think this is the lowest scoring game of the week. Jacksonville's offense was incredible the last half of the season last year, including the playoffs and their victory against the Chargers. And they put up a pretty good fight against what would be the Super Bowl champs in Kansas City, losing in the divisional round. Meanwhile, the Colts have rebuilt a ton this offseason, getting Anthony Richardson as well. Jonathan Taylor to miss the first 4 weeks, which I think is really going to put the nail in the coffin for the Indianapolis Colts. I like Jacksonville here by a couple touchdowns. It's going to be a very low-scoring game, though. Don't be surprised if Indianapolis doesn't even get in the end zone a single time. Game number 6, Tampa Bay and Minnesota. This one at US Bank Stadium. Two teams that I think made the playoffs last year and are going to be very disappointing in this next season. I mean, they could tie realistically, but I think one of these two teams has to win, and the better team is obviously Minnesota. So not going to spend too much time on this one. Baker Mayfield looked great in the preseason, but he is Baker Mayfield, his 4th team in about 2.5 seasons. So that is not the most promising thing to have, that is for sure. So I'm going to take the Vikings by a score of 30-7 for this game over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Next up, I'm picking my 3rd upset, and I know I already spoiled the pick this early on, but the Tennessee Titans and the New Orleans Saints. Maybe a lot of you guys at home don't actually know who's favored in this game. However, Tennessee, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, although a little bit shaky at quarterback, not going to be the strongest through the air, but Derrick Henry, King Henry, I've drafted him in 3 of my 4 fantasy leagues, still as dominant as he's ever been. I think he'll have another 1,500-plus yard season, especially in that AFC South, where there is no run defense on any team whatsoever. 2017 Saxonville was probably the last time I was confident in a defense in that division. But nonetheless, they are playing the Saints. Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara is going to be suspended the first 3 games as well. So it's not going to be the easiest for the Saints to get the job done. They are, I believe, 2-point favorites, but like I said, I'm picking the upset here. Give me Tennessee by 8 points over the New Orleans Saints. And here goes yet another bold pick from me. You got the San Francisco 49ers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And let me tell you something. There is a statistic. For some reason, the Pittsburgh Steelers since 2021 have played remarkable teams, unlike the Baltimore Ravens, and they somehow end up on top year after year. 2021, it was the Buffalo Bills. Looked like an easy 2, 3, 4 possession win for Buffalo. Pittsburgh goes in there, they shake up Josh Allen, they shake up the Bills, and they pull off the upset. 2022, they go into Cincinnati against a great team of Joe Burrow. Long snapper gets hurt for the Bengals. They go to overtime, and they march down the field on the final possession, led by Mitch Trubisky, and they get the job done. They win over Cincinnati on the road, and that's 2 big-time wins over dominant AFC teams over the last 2 seasons, which is why, even though San Francisco has looked good in some areas, I still don't trust Brock Purdy fully, completely. I want to see more of him in this first 6 to 8 weeks. I want to see more confidence in his arm, to be honest with you. But Christian McCaffrey's still great. Don't get me wrong, but that Steeler defense is just a brick wall. So another overtime game here. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers by a field goal in overtime over the San Francisco 49ers. Next up, you got probably what will be the worst game of the week. Can't believe this is even being televised nationally for some people that are unfortunate enough to be in the area of this game. You got the Arizona Cardinals and the Washington Commanders in the nation's capital, and I think the president will want to find new housing after the game being played so close to his White House, because this game is going to be abysmal. The Arizona Cardinals, who knows who's going to start for quarterback week after week? I believe it's going to be Josh Dobbs in week number 1 for the Cardinals, but Jonathan Gannon might be the least inspiring coach in the NFL, and I'm not going to lie to you. If Arizona goes 0-17, my reaction will be just as normal as any other record for the Cardinals. I don't see this team winning this game at all. Matter of fact, I think they're going to get shut out. The Commander defense is going to take this one by a lot, and they're not going to allow a single point. Matter of fact, I'm going to make this bold take. The Commander defense is going to score more points than the Cardinal offense in week number 1, whether that's a scoop and score or a pick 6. It is going to happen. So give me the Commanders over the Cardinals. Next up, you got the game's oldest rivalry, the Green Bay Packers on the road in Chicago, the Windy City in Soldier Field. This was an excellent game in the simulations that we've had. However, this is far from an IRL. We get Jordan Love and Justin Fields going head-to-head. I think this game is going to be a ton of fun, to be honest with you. Jordan Love hasn't showed a lot so far in his young career. Justin Fields is on the right track. Can he keep it up? That's the question. That is the biggest struggle that I have with the Bears right now in terms of confidence. DJ Moore looked great in the preseason. What can he do in the regular season is also another big inquiry that I have. I am going to take the Chicago Bears to win this game, though. I think they are favorites, and I think they deserve to be for this game. It's going to be very close. I think it'll be back and forth, never leaving the one-possession swing. But I think the Bears get the last punch into the end zone, and they're going to take the victory in week number 1. Moving on now to the AFC West, you got the Raiders and the Broncos, the 2 worst teams in this division, as we already predicted the Chiefs, and we will predict the Chargers here in a moment or two. 2 teams that had very disappointing last seasons. The Raiders also losing Derek Carr, replaced by Jimmy Garoppolo. It's going to be different. Russell Wilson looking to get back on the right track after probably the worst year, and actually not even probably. It truly is the worst year of his career in the first year with Denver, making the Seattle trade look a lot more lopsided and worth it for the Seahawks than it was the Broncos. But nonetheless, I am going to take Denver in this game by a slim margin. It's going to be very low scoring at Mile High. Oxygen is thin, and so is the offense for both these teams. It is going to be rough. It is going to be a bloodbath on the defense, but I'm going to take a 13-9 win for the Denver Broncos over the Las Vegas Raiders. Next up, you got the shootout of the week, the East versus the West, as the Miami Dolphins going across America to take on the Los Angeles Chargers at SoFi Stadium. And I think this is deservedly so. It should be the Sunday Night Football game, but it is going to be the game of the week for me. The Dolphins and the Chargers, both two playoff teams last year, both lost in the wild card. The Dolphins have a lot more excuses than the Chargers. However, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, two excellent quarterbacks still, which is why I think this game is going to include limited defense, and in my opinion, will be the highest scoring game of the week. I think it is going to come down to who has the football last, and in my opinion, for some reason, I think the coin toss is going to favor the Los Angeles Chargers. So I am going to take the Chargers by just 2 points over the Dolphins. However, this could swing either way. Would not be surprised if Miami ended up taking the W all the way over in LA. Moving now back to where one of the most dominant dynasties of all time was, the New England Patriots. And we're going to go to Foxborough, where the Eagles head to Massachusetts. And I think this is going to be a big-time Eagle win. Look, a lot of people think the Patriots are going to compete, just not in their division. I don't think they're going to compete at all. Bill Belichick's final season, in my opinion, is going to be very, very disappointing. He's going to go out on a low note despite an excellent career. I do think the Patriots are going to get obliterated in this game, to be completely honest with you. Mac Jones, not too strong, and Jalen Hurts easily could have won Super Bowl MVP despite being on the losing side, which has only ever happened once in Super Bowl history. Almost happened twice, and I think he's an excellent quarterback. Top 3 in my opinion. I think the Eagles get the job done, and they're going to score the most points by any team this week, in my opinion, all the way in New England. Final late afternoon game, you got the Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. Jackson Smith-Njigba, the rookie, looking for a big breakout game against Matthew Stafford. And could it be Cooper Kupp? I really don't know what his injury status is looking like. It's a lot of these players nowadays that don't really describe their injuries like they used to. You would know if a player was going to be back by week 3, and now you got people like Lamar Jackson, who's going to be week to week and then miss the entire second half of the season. So Cooper Kupp's status, I guess, is still in the air. Matthew Stafford, though, is back and returning from injury as well. I guess Baker Mayfield now no longer a Ram, so they can't rely on him as the backup. So Stafford is going to step back in there looking for his second ring in 3 years with Los Angeles, and it starts here in week number 1. But I think Seattle going to continue to ride on the back of Geno Smith, who had a great 2022 season. And I like Seattle here by a couple possessions. 23-10 is actually going to be my final score. Next up, we got Sunday Night Football in New York. East Rutherford, New Jersey, to be specific. The Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. This game is going to be another fun one. I've seen these two teams play on Sunday night so many times in my lifetime, and we get yet another one here in week number 1 of this season. I'm not going to lie. These two teams, very, very interesting. Dak Prescott, I don't love him too much. A lot of people are either really high on him or really low on him. I don't really have incredible feelings about either, to be honest with you. I know he throws a lot of touchdowns. He also throws a lot of picks. So there's good, there's bad, there's in between. But Daniel Jones, another quarterback that had a really high season, and I think in reality is going to go back down below. He fumbles the ball a lot. He didn't do that too much last season because Saquon got a lot of touches for him. But nonetheless, I cannot take the Giants right here, despite them being at home. Good NFC West, or NFC East matchup, that is, all the way over in East Rutherford. But I am going to take the Cowboys by just a single possession. Could be a close game. If the Giants win this, wouldn't be too surprised either, but I think Dallas, right now, is the better team. Final game of the week, and a juicy one at that, Monday Night Football. We go back to East Rutherford for back-to-back nights. We got the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers in his new home, looking for his first win of the season over a powerhouse team, 1 of 3 in the American Football Conference. And it is going to be a very, very good game, to say the least. I think the Bills and the Jets are going to go punch for punch and blow for blow against each other. It is going to be very, very close until the very end. However, that being said, I just don't know if Aaron Rodgers can keep up with his age. He is now the oldest player in the league, which is a scary thing to happen. Although he is finding a lot of success early on in these practices and training camps, week 1 is a different animal. Aaron Rodgers knows that more than anybody else. He succeeded quite a bit in Green Bay, especially early on in the season. I just don't know that I could trust him and the Jets completely yet. Very young team. It's going to take a couple games to build some chemistry, and I think that game is not going to be week number 1. So I like the Bills by just a field goal early on in this season. So there you have it. All 16 games have been predicted. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with all of my picks. I think I picked about 4 or 5 upsets in there to mix some things up, including my very own Cleveland Browns. Can't wait to be disappointed by that, but regardless, I can't wait for week number 1. Hopefully you guys are in the same boat. Let me know what you guys like about these videos, and if you want to see some more in the future. I do appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see all of you in the week 2 Power Rankings.